Partial remains of Gilgo Beach victims Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor were found in Manorville, Long Island. Today, investigators are looking back for new evidence.
And people are asking if it's all related to suspected serial killer Rex Heuermann.
Additional remains consisting of a skull were discovered at Gilgo Beach in Nassau County.
Serial killer Rex Heuermann.
The Gilgo Beach murders have been a source of popular fascination for over 13 years. Many people believe that the Gilgo Beach killings would never be solved. Conversely, a New York architect implicated in a series of murders, called the Gilgo Beach killings, was also charged with the murder of a fourth woman, a mother of two from Connecticut, whose body was discovered over 3 years later along a Long Island coastal highway. The fourth lady disappeared in 2007. What evidence was found on Heuermann, and how did all this happen? Well, stick around till the end as we unveil this shocking case with a lot of mysteries. The link between each killing. The Long Island serial killer's investigation started as a hunt for Shannan Gilbert, a 23-year-old who vanished in 2010 close to Gilgo Beach. Instead of finding Shannan when they first began their search, detectives discovered body after body on a stretch of sand that ran the length of the island. Start with Gilgo 4. Then add more victims to make a total of 10, and then find Shannan's remains on another neighboring beach. 13 years later, there was an arrest for the Gilgo 4 killings, but not for Shannan Gilbert's murder. Meanwhile, Shannan Gilbert's family attorney releases additional evidence linking the suspected serial killer to Shannan Gilbert's death. First, though, there are shocking new claims linking Karen Vergata, another victim, to the alleged murderer. A swingers party at the residence of the suspected murderer, Karen Vergata, and his spouse, was accompanied by a police officer or witness. How Shannan got missing. On May 1, 2010, early in the morning, Shannan, an escort, age 23, dialed 911. The call originated from a neighborhood close to Gilgo Beach. Shannan began jogging and knocking on doors after the call. With a scream, she vanished from sight. The woman went missing for several months and was never found. Then, in the vicinity of Gilgo Beach in December 2010, a policeman and his dog, Blue, discovered human remains. However, Sean searchers later found the bones of 4 more women, and it wasn't Shannan. Apparently, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello were reportedly identified as the ladies. They were all small, in their 20s, and online escorts, just like Shannan. The group of 4 became known as the Gilgo 4 because 3 of them were wrapped in burlap, the kind that is sold in hunting stores. On July 9, 2007, mother of 2, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, became the first person to vanish. However, being a single mother in Norwich, Connecticut, was challenging. She turned to an escort job because no one in her family realized how hard life was for her. In order to make ends meet, she spent a weekend in New York City that July. She called her sister Missy from Penn Station in Midtown Manhattan on her way home, but she was gone after that. Missy filed a missing persons report. Eventually, officers informed Missy that a call had been placed from Long Island using Maureen's cell phone following her sister's abduction. Although it was unknown at the time, Midtown Manhattan and Long Island turned out to be crucial hints in the search for a serial killer. Nearly 2 years after Maureen disappeared, a 24-year-old, Melissa Bartholomew, went missing as well in July 2009 in Midtown Manhattan. Melissa relocated to New York City to pursue a career in hairdressing from Buffalo. She also started working as an escort at some point, after which she vanished. Amanda, Melissa's 15-year-old sister, began receiving calls from Melissa's phone almost a week after she vanished. Stephen Cohen also represented the family as their lawyer at the time. Amanda informed Stephen that the caller had described how he had killed Melissa. Those calls from Melissa's phone may very well have been a mistake. The calls led authorities to believe Melissa's killer was in Midtown Manhattan when they tracked them down. The mother of a 3-year-old kid, Megan Waterman, also vanished from a Long Island motel the following year. Moreover, Megan's relatives stated that the 22-year-old was a dedicated mother to her daughter and a talented but disturbed young lady who liked fashion. Similar to the other 2 women, Megan vanished on June 6, 2010, during the summer. She was employed on Long Island as an escort. Cell phone data later revealed that her phone was found in the Long Island neighborhood of Massapequa Park. The final member of the Gilgo 4 to vanish was Amber Costello. Massapequa Park was only 7.5 miles away from her home. Dave Schaller, a friend and former roommate of Amber's, talked about how incredible she was. but he said that Amber was a drug addict who relied on sex work to fund her addiction. Police claim that Schaller informed them about Amber's clients after she vanished. One of the clients, he said, had a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche and looked like an ogre. Schaller claims that a client made Amber an offer of $1,500 for the evening, which is 6 times her hourly wage, the night before Amber vanished. He claims that the client persuaded Amber, a seasoned escort, to do something she had never done before, leave the house without her wallet or phone and meet him in his vehicle. It was almost midnight when Amber left the house, according to Schaller, and he never saw her again as she walked down the street. Although he was unable to see the client's face that evening, he had a suspicion that he had seen him before. Before a breakthrough in the case and the identification of a prime suspect, Schaller's description lingered for over 10 years. How many victims are linked to him? Are there bodies somewhere else that haven't been found? Well, let's continue to see how this case was unfolded. The investigation of the Long Island serial killer, working with Rex Heuermann, Mary Schell, and Muriel Henriquez, were unable to process the news. It was shocking since they never imagined he would be that kind of person. Furthermore, Long Island law enforcement officials declared on July 14th that they had cracked the case of the Gilgo Beach serial killer after a 13-year investigation. Heuermann resided in Massapequa Park, the same town where Megan's phone last made contact with the mobile tower, roughly 20 minutes away from Gilgo Beach. Meanwhile, Heuermann works at his Midtown Manhattan architectural firm, a few steps from the location of Maureen's disappearance and the same neighborhood from which Melissa's younger sister received multiple threatening calls. But Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond A. Tierney announced during a press conference that local architect Rex Heuermann had been taken into custody and charged with the murders of 3 women, the bodies of whom had been discovered in December 2010 near Gilgo Beach on a parkway. When 59-year-old Rex Heuermann left his job on a Thursday night, he probably never imagined that police in Midtown would surround him. The towering suspect, still dressed in the same khakis, was accused of being the Gilgo Beach, Long Island serial murderer known as Lisk, who had escaped police for more than a dozen years. But why was he patronizing sex workers when he was happily married? Armed with search warrants, investigators in white Tyvek suits pounced upon Heuermann's childhood home, which was Massapequa Park, right away. However, a map of Vontauf Parkway, which is close to Heuermann's residence, shows how conveniently he might have traveled to Ocean Parkway, which is near the Jones Beach Exchange. Beyond his employment agreements with New York City and Target, Rex Heuermann's clients also came to light when documents showed that his company, run by former President Donald Trump, paid him $200,000 to renovate office space at a downtown building. These facts further support the investigation's conclusion that the suspected serial murderer led 2 lives. Authorities charged Heuermann on Tuesday with a 4th murder that is connected to the 2010 death of another lady who was discovered nearby. Authorities have not implicated Heuermann in the deaths of the 6 other individuals whose corpses were found nearby, but they are still looking into their deaths. The following is what we now know about the case and Heuermann's arrest. Who were the victims? While searching for another missing person in December 2010, Suffolk County police officer John Malia and his police dog discovered human remains off Gilgo Beach. Melissa Bartholomew, a 24-year-old Bronx sex worker, was confirmed as the owner of the body. She vanished in July 2009 after informing a friend she was seeing a customer. However, the bodies of 3 other women were discovered in the same area, feet apart, 2 days after Bartholomew's remains were found. These women were Amber Lynn Costello, who was last seen on September 2, 2010, Megan Waterman, who was last seen on June 6, 2010, and Maureen Brainard Barnes, who was last seen on July 9, 2007. What happened to these women? 2 of the 4 women, who were all in their 20s and employed as escorts, were parents. All of their bodies were wrapped in burlap, shackled at the feet or ankles, and looked to have been strangled. Heuermann was only accused of killing Bartholomew, Costello, and Waterman in July. But according to the bail records, he was also the main suspect in the murder of Brainard Barnes. Prosecutors formally charged Heuermann with Brainard Barnes' death 6 months after his arrest, citing the findings of a DNA test that revealed a hair found on Brainard Barnes' bones belonged to Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup. But how is that possible? What is the link there? Officers discovered 6 more victims in the weeks following the discovery of the women's bodies: a male, a 2-year-old girl, and 4 more women. Heuermann is not facing any charges in relation to their demise. Now, what do we really know about Heuermann? Life of Rex Heuermann. Hoyerman had been employed in Manhattan since 1987 as an architect and architectural consultant, having completed projects for several clients, including Cipriani, the city, and JFK Airport. Additionally, he shared a Massapequa Park childhood home with Ellerup, his wife of over 27 years, with whom he had a daughter and a son of her own. Although Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison characterized Hoyerman as a demon that walks amongst us, a predator that ruined families, interviews with those who knew him reveal a divisive character.
Rex Hoyerman is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
After 30 years of working with Hoyerman, property manager Steve Kramberg described him as a big goofy guy, a little bit on the nerdy side. He was characterized as cold and distant by one professional contact and as overly fastidious and adversarial with everyone by another. With all these negative comments about him, was it a bad idea to have stayed away from him? Does he have a mental health issue? Hoyerman's neighbors varied in their assessments of him. Nicholas Fairchild described him as eerie, kind of creepy, and someone you don't want to approach. Other neighbors said he kept to himself. If Hoyerman is indeed guilty of the offenses for which he is charged, he has done an excellent job of concealing them from people who matter to him. Harrison claimed that upon learning of Hoyerman's accusations, his family was disgusted and embarrassed. Harrison remarked, "If you ask me, I don't think they knew about this double life that Hoyerman was living." Ellerup filed for divorce a little over a week after his arrest. In court documents, her petition was marked as uncontested. How did Hoyerman become a suspect? The authorities established the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force in February 2022, which consists of federal, state, and local investigators. Meanwhile, the task force concentrated its inquiry on mobile phone data records, which revealed that calls made and received from the women's phones in their last days primarily originated from two locations: Hoyerman's house in Massapequa Park and Midtown Manhattan, which is close to his office. Hoyerman also allegedly searched for 6 subjects, including child porn and torture porn, using fake web profiles. He's an animal, a demon, and someone who belongs nowhere near other people. The task group was fortunate to find a Chevrolet Avalanche truck in March 2022 that matched the one that Costello's roommate, Dave Schaller, claimed to have seen her outside their house the day before she vanished. In a post-arrest interview, Schaller said that when he returned home in September 2010, he discovered Costello cowering in the bathroom under the threat of a prominent, Frankenstein-like figure, which was Hoyerman. Schaller also claimed that when they got into a confrontation, the stranger got into a truck and drove off. A witness then claimed to have seen a similar truck go by the house the following day, just after Costello had departed to meet with a customer. It is unclear if this witness was Schaller or someone else. Schaller, in the meantime, said that he informed the police about the man and his car in December after gathering this information. "When they told me she was dead, he was the first person who jumped in my head," Schaller stated to AP. "I've been picturing his face for 13 years. According to reports, the task team was able to focus on Hoyerman by using the vehicle's registration history and Schaller's description. In addition, detectives who had worked on the investigation at various stages over the previous 13 years have voiced annoyance that Schaller's witness statement wasn't given priority earlier. Schaller was additionally offended by the error. "I gave them the exact description of the truck and the dude," he stated. "They ended up hiding the case file. I mean, come on, why didn't they use that?" In July 2022, authorities also gathered 11 bottles from a trash can outside Hoyerman's house, and they compared the DNA to hairs discovered on 2 of the victims' bodies. The samples also implicated Hoyerman's wife, although she has not been charged because she was out of state at the time of each murder. Hoyerman was also connected to Waterman's remains by pizza crusts that were thrown into a garbage can and later recovered by investigators. Prosecutors claimed that Hoyerman's online activity included at least 200 searches for images of the victims and their families, as well as information about the investigation into the 4 women whose remains were discovered. What exactly has Hoyerman been charged with? Hoyerman is accused of 4 first-degree murders and 4 second-degree murders by the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. He made a brief court appearance in July when his lawyer entered a not guilty plea. Judge Richard Ambrose, however, refused to grant him bail, citing the alleged act's extreme depravity, and Hoyerman was placed under suicide watch, according to the New York Post. Hoyerman entered a not guilty plea in January regarding Brainard Barnes's murder. What other matters are the authorities looking into? one of the lawyers handling the case stated during a press conference that the additional remains discovered close to Gilgo Beach were still being looked into by the police. They weren't done with this arrest, though. Additionally, officials are actively investigating whether Hoyerman committed any other suspected offenses, according to Deputy Police Commissioner Anthony Carter. Meanwhile, hundreds of firearms and a life-size mannequin were discovered by police scouring Hoyerman's residence for body parts or souvenirs. DA Tierney said on July 25th that detectives had concluded their work at the Long Island location after bringing a ground-penetrating radar, a police dog, and a backhoe into Hoyerman's backyard. According to Tierney, their dig produced a massive amount of material, but they were unable to locate any more human remains. Harrison, however, further clarified that Hoyerman maintained a weapons vault at the house, but refuted rumors that he had a soundproof room in his basement. But what was he using those weapons for? Why were they with him? Approximately 300 guns were taken out of the area by the police in all. However, Rex's co-workers had a different impression of him. They thought he was a genuinely kind person. She said that he was reputed to be an excellent hunter, which may account for the guns discovered in his basement. Hoyerman and Mary Schell collaborated during the 2010 summer. Megan Waterman and Amber Costello both disappeared that summer. Hoyerman experienced loneliness and bullying as a child, yet he never retaliated. The scope of the probe has been extended to Chester, South Carolina, and Las Vegas, where authorities claim Hoyerman owns property. Still, the Las Vegas police continued their investigation and examination of unresolved cases, looking for any that might be linked to Hoyerman. Furthermore, the Chester Sheriff's Office requested that Hoyerman's Chevrolet Avalanche pickup be seized. Nevertheless, a lot of people in the neighborhood find it challenging to accept that Hoyerman is the infamous serial killer who spent more than 10 years leading a double life. What do you think about this case? Was the punishment for Rex Hoyerman fair enough? Let us know in the comment below. And also, don't forget to check out any of our videos displayed on your screen to get more videos like this. See you in our next video.